everybody can join in. And now we can say good morning. Welcome to Lisa's Changing Perceptions. Lisa, welcome back.
Thank you. I'm laughing at the utter professionalism that we have here every week.
Every week. What the hell? Every week. I think I've got something good to go, and boom. And because I downloaded your theme music and I had pre-pulled it up, and then it said, "Oh, oops, sorry, this is being used by another app." So that's why I had to close it out, go back and reopen it. So
it's the utter professionalism that we carry here.
It is. It's wonderful.
Well, but you know what? It starts everybody's Sunday morning with laughing, so that's okay.
At least yours, which I'm happy about, and you sound absolutely amazing this morning because we have new mics here in the studio, which absolutely.
That was such a guy compliment. You sound absolutely amazing. Well, it's because we have new mics.
Well, we do, and I'm proud of those. But you sound absolutely everybody does, but even more so than usual.
Oh, that's a guy save. That was a total guy save right there.
Whatever. I was trying to be complimentary and tell everybody we have new mics all at the same time.
Your show. They are very cool. I feel much more professional now.
I'm going to just shut up and wait. I have to do this. Oh my gosh. Professionalism just flew out the window this morning entirely. Lisa's Changing Perceptions is brought to you by the generous support of the Bremer Team, Keller Williams Success Realty. TheBremerTeam.com, 847-456-6334. They bring families home. Lisa, good morning.
Good morning, Pete. Are we ready to go now?
We are 100%. Now you can do to do. And I'll just shut up and eat my donut now.
Good morning, everybody. I am sorry that I missed 2 weeks in a row. It actually was not intended. When I got to Colorado, where my cabin was at 10,000 feet.
Wow.
And the reception was not going to be strong, or the feed wasn't going to be strong enough to do remote. And then last weekend, frankly, I drove 20 hours straight through. And by the time I got home, I had been up for 27 hours and I was just out.
It would have been quite an interesting show, though, if we did it while you were sleep deprived.
I was loopy and cranky. We probably would not want that. I do know myself well enough to know when to step away and say this is not a good idea. So I was just too tired because actually as soon as I got back, I'm moving. So I've been moving all week since I've been back. And today I hired some muscle to help me move. So hopefully the brunt of it will be done today. So anyway, thank you everybody for being patient. Colorado was stunningly beautiful. Breathtaking, spiritual, exhausting, stressful, and I conquered so many fears by doing this drive by myself through the Rocky Mountains. I don't know if anybody's ever done it before. I had been there before, but I was the passenger. So I was just, looking out the window at all the pretty things. It's a lot different when you're going around curves that are unexpected with truckers and 70 miles an hour and you don't know what's coming around the other curve because it's very curvy to get through the mountains. And people who haven't been there don't think about it because you can't just go up a mountain.
No.
You have to weave through it to make your way up. So it's ups and downs and valleys, and it's a crazy, crazy ride. I did it. The way there was worse than the way back because there I didn't know what to expect. And I was on the tail end of 18 and a half hours. And it was about 4 hours in was all mountain driving. So I have height issues that I deal with, and I have bridge issues that I deal with. So I was really conquering some big things. And my girlfriend said, but what about the tunnels? I'm like, the tunnels are cool because if you hit the side of the tunnel, you're still in the tunnel. You hit the side of the mountain, you're either down it or into it. There's no in between. So the tunnels were fine. But it's absolutely breathtaking, beautiful. And I got up one morning and watched the sunrise. And that was about one of the prettiest things I've ever seen. The sunrise coming up over the mountains is absolutely just truly breathtaking. So I thank everybody for being patient while I was on my little venture. And I'm here this morning, and then I shall be back all these weeks, I believe. In 2 weeks, I do have a guest. So we'll see how that goes. And we're going to have another one after that. So there'll be some guests coming on in the near future here. So for now, for those of you that are new, thank you for joining in. For those of you who join in every week, thank you for coming back. I'm Lisa with Lisa's Changing Perceptions. I am a self-empowerment coach, hypnotherapist, and NLP practitioner. And I come here every week to discuss with you the different topics that come up and the different ways that we can help deal with our own inner mind and child. And I'm also an intuitive medium. So sometimes we get on that topic as well, which I had a haunted room in the Colorado. That's what I showed.
Oh, you did?
Yeah, it was
Ooh.
funny because my new boss knew what I do, but it wasn't like a public service announcement, but she found out because somebody else helped me. It's this thing. But so I got there and I get in my condo, and the next morning I start to go down to start training. And I said, "Did you put me in that room on purpose?" And she said, "What do you mean?" I said, "I lay down absolutely exhausted and a little spirit dog jumps on the bed. And then I can sense an older man." I said, "It's either an older man or a very, very masculine female." It was just an energy feeling. And she's like, "No, I didn't do it on purpose." I said, "I just said, no, not now. I'm too tired. Like, leave me alone. I need to sleep." And so then her boss came in, because then apparently word spread of what I do. And people were literally coming in just to meet me. Like I'm going to all of a sudden just like, oh, poof, here we go.
Oh,
and it was really funny because it was
poof.
almost like you almost felt celebrity. Like people were literally coming in just to shake my hand and go, "Oh, it's not welcoming you here. Nice to meet you." And then kind of looking at me funny. And like, "You heard, didn't you?" And then, yeah. Like, oh my gosh, this is so funny. But they didn't know who had owned that condo before that I was in. And so we kind of just let it be. And about halfway through my 2 weeks there, a little girl came in whose dad has been a maintenance person there for 35 years.
Wow.
And she was asking me some questions about what I do with the mediumship and hypnotherapy and things. And I told her about the room and I started laughing. I'm like, "Yeah, I think they did that room on purpose." And she said, what room are you in?" And I told her. And she said, "Oh my gosh, an older man with a pug dog owned that condo for years and years and years. And he passed away a few years ago." And I was like, "Well, he didn't leave. He's still there."
Well, he did.
So that was kind of funny and fun to validate.
Tell him.
Yeah.
Him. Let him know. Yeah.
It was fun to validate that, yes, that really did take place. But it probably didn't help because then just more people wanted to meet me thinking that I was, magic. And of course, I got the Teresa Caputo question about 900 times.
What's the Teresa Caputo question?
Are you like Teresa Caputo? I get that all the time.
Who's Teresa Caputo?
Oh, the Long Island medium.
Is that like a Long Island iced tea?
No, she does a TV show. She's a medium on TV.
Oh, okay.
And so
All
my
right.
response is usually, if I had a film crew and editors, yes, I would be amazing.
Gotcha.
That's what it would be. And she makes a little more money than I do, just for the record.
Well,
I'm thinking she makes more at it than I do. But it was interesting and it was fun. So I thank oops, I keep bumping this. I'm not used to it.
yeah, I know it takes a little getting used to it. And you don't have to lean right up into it. It's fine
To readjust.
Yeah, you can.
These are different.
Yeah, they're a little bit different. So
I thank everybody for being patient.
Derek says Teresa was famous maybe 15 years ago.
Teresa Caputo?
Yeah.
Well, she's still making a buttload of money, Derek.
Okay. Well, what's a buttload?
Well, I would imagine it's well into the millions and millions.
Okay. All right. Just for my own personal reference, I was curious what a buttload.
She fills stadiums.
So okay.
All right. She fills stadiums.
Derek does say good morning. Derek Bear of Bear Facts on Guns.
Good morning.
On Thursdays. And he says, it's crystal clear. He says, love the new mics. You must sound, like I said, you sound absolutely wonderful.
Oh, that's so sweet. Well, good. Because we're gonna go back to basics today. Some of the questions that I've been getting and with new clients that are coming in, I realize that since I started the show in the beginning, I did a couple of them that kind of explain these things. And then I kind of haven't done it again. And we've added literally hundreds of thousands of listeners since then. Mm-hmm. So I decided to kind of go back to basics. I do welcome anybody who has a question to please ask it. You can, I don't know, can they click in?
Absolutely. Well, you know what? Would you like them to have the link to come
if
in
they
live?
would like to, I would
have to turn on the TV and the phone, so you'd have to look at yourself.
Oh.
They can ask a question and I can relay it.
Yeah, that'll be great.
In comments. All right. Question and comments, please, whether you're on the Facebook
and I would
Live
be happy
or YouTube
to
live
answer
stream.
them. Because I just realized, like, gosh, it's been so long since we've gone back to basics. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go back to the basics kind of what I do. and why I do it and why I feel it's effective and some evidence that proves that it's effective. So we're going to kind of do that today. So interrupt at any time. I call myself, first off, I know I introduce myself as a self-empowerment coach. I do not introduce myself as a life coach. And here's the reason: I did not live your life, so I cannot coach you in your life.
Right.
But I do know, and I do have the tools to offer you, to show you, to teach you, to empower yourself to refabricate your life however you choose. So that's why I refer as self-empowerment coach. People ask, so that I'm going to explain that why I'm here on the air. There's nothing wrong with anybody who calls themselves a life coach. I just prefer self-empowerment coach because the truth is I really just don't believe I can live your life. So I can't coach you in it, but I can help you coach yourself.
Well, here's something that Eric Bam has tuned in, and he's on
Hi, Eric.
Facebook live stream. Mr. Bam says, good morning. I'm wearing bedazzled pants today. He's my hero. If I had some bedazzled pants, I'd wear them too.
I would too, because I've always said I'm the bling queen. I'm not blingy today because I'm going to go get a U-Haul. So I'm usually the bling queen.
I'm very tempted actually to go find a bedazzle. Do they still sell those? Is that a thing?
We
still?
Could make them because you can buy a bedazzler.
I have some old jeans that the belt loops are torn on that I found at home. And I'm halfway tempted to bedazzle the living crap out of
You
those
can
things.
buy a bedazzler.
I would do it
yourself.
A 2-on-6 the net bedazzling on them.
You could put 2-1-6 the net on your pockets.
Yeah.
2-1-6 on one pocket and then the net on the other pocket. And then as all those women check your butt out when you walk through McHenry, they would know where to tune in.
Because mine is just... the only reason people would be checking mine out is because they'd be like, holy crap, does he have one? There's nothing there. It's so flat. He's got just long two legs. Where's his butt? Anyway, we digress. Holy crap.
We do. We're going to go off topic here.
Yeah.
So anyway, that is why I talk about being a self-empowerment coach rather than a life coach. My goal with a client is not to fix them or save them. It's to offer them the tools that they have and that they can utilize and understand for the rest of their lives to save themselves. That's just really my view of it. I have some clients that come once or twice, and because maybe they've just got a couple things they want to kind of deal with. I've had clients that come 6 and 8 months because they want to go deeper. They want to dig deeper in. So that's my reason for calling myself a self-empowerment coach. 2 is hypnotherapy. Hypnotherapy allows someone to review a situation or see a situation differently. And the hypnosis, the hypnotic state, which I'll explain, allows them to detach the emotional from it so that it's not as fearful and painful. Mm-hmm. Because if we can look at things without the emotional fear that makes us, withdraw a bit, we can see it from a different perspective. And when we can see it from a different perspective, our mind will allow us to react to it differently. So it does help with that. Somebody have a question?
Eric says, what we all need? Validation and direction.
Absolutely.
And so more of a comment than a question, I think.
I try, it's funny because I just said that to a client who had been seeing something from a state that wasn't really healthy. And I let them voice the whole thing. And I didn't criticize it or tell them it wasn't healthy. But as they heard themselves explain it in an environment where they weren't being stopped or judged or said, that's not true. You know what I mean? Like where they were able to just flow through it. All of a sudden they reheard themselves and all of a sudden they went, oh, wait a minute. And it's like, right. Validating, even our irrational thoughts are validated because they're still real. They're still genuine and they're still true. And when we don't allow somebody to flow that out and get that out of their system, it remains buried. And then in environments that are, truly some people really are in environments where they're not able to feel free to do that. There can be years and years and years of buried. And the truth is it's not what you think and it's not the way you see something. It's how we react to it that makes us who we are. So when people know right from wrong as far as reaction and, harm or anything, depending on what the different topic is, they know not to do those things, but they keep those things really buried down in them, which makes them still alive and real. And so they relive them a bit, where they're triggered often. So I believe in letting somebody just flow with their truth. And even if it's irrational, the truth is it's a valid way to feel because they feel it. To tell somebody that their feelings are not valid it's not possible for somebody's feelings not to be valid. It's a real feeling.
That seems insane.
Right. It's a real feeling.
It's a feeling. If you have a real feeling, an actual emotion, how...
It's genuine.
Yeah, it's genuine. Now,
it may be twisted up. I refer to it as twisting up like a ball of yarn. You know how you ball up a ball of twine and there's a bunch of wires going in different directions. And I said sometimes we just have to start pulling that out and making it, more even.
Okay, Derek does have a question.
Okay.
He says, how do you help someone that gets stuck in the what if conversation? A friend of mine is always talking about the negative of what could happen. Versus me, I will jump in head first because I get stuck in the what if I don't try this?
Right.
And then he says, lols.
That is more of NLP, which is NLP, for those who don't know, is Neuro-Linguistic Programming. And Neuro-Linguistic Programming does not require hypnosis, but Neuro-Linguistic Programming deals more not with what happened, but how we wired ourselves to see it or how we reacted to it. So people can get locked in. A decision is made in a split second, in a moment in time. And I know people say all the time, no, it took me months to make that decision. No, it didn't. It took you months to sort out that decision, but it took you a split second to decide what the answer was.
Right.
So we make those decisions in a split second. And sometimes when people are locked in that, they're locked in a state or a moment of time when something didn't turn out how they wanted it to, or something really hurt them. There was a trauma. There was a loss. There's something that's holding somebody almost locked in place on their timeline. And even though they're moving forward in life, mentally, emotionally, they're locked in that moment and they can't get past it. And there's a thing called timeline therapy that I would do with Neuro-Linguistic Programming. And it allows them to go back into that moment and release the decision.
And Denise says, good morning.
Good morning, Denise. That's going to be my guest on the 27th.
Ah, okay. Good morning, Denise. We're looking forward to meeting you. And then, of course, your mom, Donna, says
hey,
good morning. So
they can, oh, I just made the chair go down. I hit it with my foot.
That's okay.
Lisa's shrinking on the air. So they can get locked in time, and it's called timeline therapy. And that's how I would deal with it but first, the truth is that first, they wouldn't walk in the office and all of a sudden I'd be like, okay, let's do this. I allow them to talk it out and allow them to feel exactly how they're feeling. And there's a series of questions and a way that you ask a series of questions that will start to force the unconscious mind. Your unconscious mind remembers every second of every moment of every lifetime. Okay. So there's a way of opening it. I call it like a lotus flower. Like there's a way of opening it up and allowing that to come out. And depending on what they're saying, there's a series of questions and a way that I would ask questions that would force to challenge their unconscious mind. And I don't challenge what they're saying because what they're saying is very valid to them. But I would challenge the thought process behind it in a way that's not degrading, that doesn't put them, because they're tired of being degraded. That's probably part of the trauma, is that they may have made a mistake or a choice or something that caused a loss or didn't turn out how they wanted. And now they're locked in that. So to devalue their choice or to value how they're feeling even more so is not of any purpose. So I would allow them to talk it. And then we kind of break open that unconscious mind. And it's funny because all of a sudden people will get recall.
Eric has a question.
Go ahead.
He says, feels like there is a lot of stress about going back into the office. Any suggestions on best practices to handle reentry?
That's going to be a personal choice because there's so many different energies popping all over the place on this topic. Go in and be true to yourself. What do you feel? What is best for you? Decide what that is. Really take some time and honor yourself to decide what is best for you and do that. And then remember in that not to judge what other people have decided what is best for them. That's going to be the key, because there's so much conflict. And that conflict it's almost like even in adult offices in the adult world, we're going back to like that junior high peer pressure kind of feeling.
Right.
And it's really awful. And it's causing a lot of mental, emotional distress for people.
It's surprising. It shouldn't be. I spent 30 years in HR, but it is still surprising to me how much time people in corporate settings, office settings, spend in that junior high school mindset.
Yes.
It blows me away.
And now it's going to be even more so with people going back with this. So, Eric, my recommendation is stop and ask yourself, what makes me most comfortable? What can I live with? What will make me feel secure in my environment? And do whatever it is that is. But remember that everyone else has that choice too. And just allow yourself. We spend a lot of time in society and in our lives worrying about what other people do. And the truth is that we have no control over another human being. We only have control over our response to that human being.
Right.
And so be true to yourself, honor yourself in whatever it is. If you feel more comfortable being a little more guarded, be guarded. Yeah. If you're not worried about it, then don't worry about it. But just have respect for other people as you expect them to have respect for you. You will not find that everybody is going to feel that way. And that's usually a comment that I get. But so-and-so isn't doing that. At the end of the day, we're responsible for who we are. We're responsible for our level of integrity, our level of truth. We're responsible for every choice that we've made. And we're responsible for our actions and reactions to things. So what everybody else, if we go anywhere, whether it be work, whether it be school, whether it be in our own homes, or at the grocery store, expecting and having expectations of everybody else's behavior, you're never going to be a happy person.
How would you suggest, because I've dealt with this myself personally, actually very recently, when a person comes to you with an issue, a problem, and it's their problem, but how would you suggest people handle it when they say, what are we going to do about this? When you genuinely feel there is no we in the subject matter.
It depends on the relationship, because if you're talking about a friendship, then you have to determine what level of friendship that is. If you're talking about a romantic relationship, then there is kind of a we involved.
Okay, this would be not a romantic, not even a personal. This is more of a superficial business, or
if it's something that you genuinely,
it's a superficial interaction, but someone is having what they feel is a genuine problem. So okay, I acknowledge here. I'll just make this personal because it's been.
That's an unconscious call for help.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, that's an unconscious call for help. Right. That's their way of saying, I think I might have screwed something. This is just my opinion, not knowing the situation. That would be their way of saying, I think I might have screwed something up and I'm not really sure how to fix it. And I'm kind of asking for help, but I don't know how.
Okay. There we go. Eric has another question, and I'm not quite sure what inflection to use in reading this.
Okay.
He says, do you think that Pete is the man? Am I the man? In other words, am I the man that's keeping you down? The man is keeping me down.
No, I think Pete's the bomb.
Okay. Well,
I love Pete. Pete is one of the most genuine, nice people I have ever met.
Well, thank you. And right back at you.
And I love him. Okay. You know what I love most about Pete, truthfully, is that I know you guys come on and we're laughing at the beginning. I get here like a half an hour early just because Pete and I just talk. And Pete's a straight up person that doesn't BS. We have conversations, sometimes serious, sometimes funny, or whatever. But no, I have the utmost respect for Pete because he just tells me how it is.
Yeah, and back at you.
Yeah, be straight up and don't make me guess and don't make me play head games. So I come in, I get here in half an hour early, and Pete and I are usually in conversation, and then all of a sudden it's like, oh, the show.
Oh, the show, yeah.
So that's why I'm always laughing because we're behind trying to set it up.
Almost becomes an afterthought. Oh, that's what we're actually here for. Who'd have thought we're in a station?
So
anyway.
The word context, and that's part of NLP, but the fact that they said we, and they said it in a gentle manner.
Not a gentle manner.
No. Oh, were they angry?
Yeah.
Then they were going to deflect blame, self-blame. See, that's the thing. And that's why I said without knowing what the context is. Now, when somebody says we, and they say it in an angry manner, that would be either they're either deflecting blame or they kind of blame you and they feel like you're not taking responsibility.
And here, I'll give you an example because I have no idea who this person is.
Okay.
Where I go, almost everybody listening today knows what I do outside of the studio as far as the day job.
Right.
And, however, in that, we take calls, and sometimes people think that where I am handles everything for the city or county of the area in which we are.
Pete is king.
And hey, it's good to be the king, right? Mel Brooks, he told us all. But if you're calling and you're having a problem and you say, hey, I am a person inside a business, I am not happy because this business has machines for their patronage use and most of their machines aren't working. What are we going to do about this?
That's a totally different thing.
Well, I'm afraid unless you've got a pair of pliers, a screwdriver, and a couple of socket sets, we aren't in this. I can't talk you through it. I'm not a repair center.
That's somebody who knows how to use the word we, because to use the word you when you're to use the word you, whether it be an argument, confrontation, or whatever, is always going to cause somebody to go boom. So that's somebody who knows that, because to say he's trying to say, I include you in this and I'm willing to help. That's a totally different thing. That's not what I thought we were talking about. I thought you had like met somebody new and kind of a friendship kind of thing, but they were trying to suck you in.
Lord, no, I don't get, no, you know that I don't.
I know you don't let people in your bubble.
No, it takes a long time for people to get into my personal, like a really long time for people to get in my personal bubble. And even then it's on a very, you're probably deeper into my personal bubble than almost, than most people I know.
Oh, that's nice.
I mean, to tell you.
That's actually flattering.
It's just, it takes a long time for people to get there. Well, you know more about my personal life because of certain things that most anybody knows.
Yeah, my response to somebody who was doing that to me on the phone, because I do deal with the public and what have you, would probably be, unfortunately, I am unable to contribute anything to this besides giving you the appropriate phone number that you could contact.
Yeah, which is what I did.
Person. Yeah, that's all you can.
What I did.
Just an upset person. Sometimes, here's the other thing too, is we need to remember in society and stuff that sometimes people are mad and they're not really even mad at what they're complaining about. How many times have you been in whether it be a friendship or a romantic relationship, and something happens and it's kind of minor in hindsight, but it causes like the biggest blow up argument? That's because there's a bunch of pent up ick that's just kind of, come to the surface. And so once the lid blew off that, it's all kind of flowing out. So, the key is there's a book written that's called The 4 Agreements. And one of them is don't take things personally, and that's part of a problem that we have, is that we all have so many wounds and triggers that when somebody, this is a stranger. So truthfully, what effect do they really have? And when we take if we were to take something personally and then we attack back, we've just fed conflict.
Yeah.
And in the end, I love it when people say, well, I wouldn't have done it if they. No, you're still responsible for your response.
Oh, yeah.
You're still responsible for your response. Whether it was good or bad, own it. You're still responsible for your response, because there is no if they. Someday when I go meet my maker, I doubt I'm going to be able to say, well, I would have been better if they. That's the bottom line. I'm trying to do things. I have a fairly long fuse, but once it's lit, the whole world knows. That's kind of my personality dynamic. And I'm trying to hinder that myself. For the record, I do my own techniques on myself too. So I practice what I preach. And one of the new things that I have learned to say, because as many of you know, my filter is not huge. And although I'm actually proud of standing up to say what I feel is truthful, I also have learned that it can be mistimed and it can be more aggressive than it should be, just because of the mistiming of it and what's going on. So I have learned when something is triggering me, my new thought is to just stop and hold my breath for a second and ask myself, can you respond to this right now in a way that you'll be proud of later?
Mm.
And if my response is no, then I'm honest to be, I tell everything. So I'm very honest to say, I cannot respond to this situation right now in a way that I'll be proud of later. Now, luckily, so far, people have accepted that answer. I don't know what would happen if somebody pushed it. I guess it'd be like, you know what? I was cool and I warned you.
Yeah. Then
so here we go.
They're going to get what they got.
So things like that, and it's weird because it seems like people are so uncomfortable to admit personality traits and faults and things. It took me a lot of years to become confident enough to speak my mind freely because I wasn't always in an environment when I could do that. And so to become confident enough to speak my mind freely and to speak my truth and to not care if I fit in a weird way. It's funny. In a weird way, I'm kind of proud of the fact that I don't fit in because I see what's going on out there right now. And I'm glad to not fit in. So it took me a lot of years to do that. So there's a pride in that, but in that I have discovered that sometimes my voicing of truth is ill-timed. Whether it be ill-timed that it's disrespectful to the person I'm talking to or ill-timed because I'm not really in the mental state to say it in a tone and in an appropriate, way to say it. So I just kind of went, you know what, this is causing some problems in my life and I'm hurting some people that I don't mean to hurt because I don't have bad intentions, but it's coming out poorly. So that's just my new mantra is to ask myself, hold my breath and ask myself, if you respond to this right now, how you're going to, will you be proud of it later? Because guess what most of us live in? Guilt and regret. So rather than having as much guilt and regret in my life, I stop and just ask myself later on, will that be something I'm proud of? Will that be something that I look back on and say, yeah, I did the best I could? Because as I've said, and new people on the air may not know, but I truly go to bed every night and I ask myself, did you do the best you could? Genuinely, were you the best you could be today? And if I say yes, then it was a really good day.
Cool.
And if I say no, then I own it. Okay, what could I have done differently? What did I handle poorly? Or, whatever the situation may be. And okay, if I have another chance tomorrow, then I'll try to do better. And that's genuine, but I can't tell you that I always do better. But I do try to acknowledge where I didn't.
Yeah.
But that's not for other people. That's for me. That's just something I've learned to believe in. And I learned to believe in that through a lot of guilt and regret. And as we know, and I've talked about on the air before, the death of my husband changed my entire view.
Well, as it would.
It changed my entire view. And for those of you who don't know, I'll cliff notes it real quick, but I was married 25 years to truly a kind man. And it's really not just because he's gone that I'm bragging. I was really very lucky. The guilt and regret comes as I didn't realize how lucky I was until he was gone. And especially now out there realizing that I had a very, very kind, hardworking husband who would he had me on a pedestal. He believed I could change the world if I wanted to, and I didn't really have a gratitude and appreciation for that in a way. I mean, I did, but not in the way that I should have. I kind of took it for granted. And I just thought that's what marriage was. I was with him since I was 18. So to me, that's just what marriage was. And he died when I was 44. And when he died and I realized, oh my God, that's not just what marriage was. I was just really, really lucky. Because we had a good marriage. We had, our children were happy. They're successful. If he hadn't passed away, we'd still be married. There'd be no doubt that their divorce was never and it was just like, oh my gosh. And then I stepped back and I looked at my life and I looked at the things that I took for granted. I look at the things that I didn't speak up for, things, we all feel a little deprived sometimes in our relationships or whatever. And I never said anything. And I thought, oh my God, I was with this man that if I just would have said something, he would have done anything for me. How stupid and how selfish of me to be that person. And I will say, sorry, don't send me nasty emails. Women are worse about this than men, truly, is he should know. Right.
No.
Now, how should he know? Right.
Yeah.
But women are terrible at that. I'm going to defend men on that topic. When they'll say, oh, my husband doesn't do this or that. Now my response to them is, what did he say when you asked him to? Well, I didn't ask him to. Well, why not? Well, because he should know. How should he know if you didn't tell him? So I learned things like that. And then in the relationship that I had after my husband passed away, I was very open to say, you know what, there's a 16-year-old girl in me that still likes all the foo-foo fluff. And it is, I'm old school foo-foo fluff, flowers and picnics, and I'm that girl altogether. And it was nice because I wasn't afraid to say, you know what, the 16-year-old girl in me is starving. And they'd say, oh gosh, it's been a while since we did the date thing, huh? Let's do. And just learning how to say, this is what I need. And then allowing somebody else to say, this is what I need back. And we don't have that in society, much anymore. So the reason I kind of look at life differently is realizing I spent 25 years with somebody who would have done literally anything for me. Even at a point when we were losing everything, he would go work and do extra work so that I was on a different radio show years ago, and so that I could still have my radio show. Cause he said, we're losing everything, but you're still happy when you do this. So it was like, okay, we're losing everything, but you're still willing to go out and make enough for me to do my show. So it just regrets and guilt. And that's everybody in life has regret and guilt. And everybody in life has trauma. Everybody in life has grief. Everybody has experienced these things. And it's not what we experience, it's how we respond to the experience. And so getting back to kind of the hypnotherapy and why I got into that, is I knew somebody who was in a lot of emotional pain, from a lot of trauma. And they were locked, as he was saying, is that you get locked in a spot. And I thought, there's got to be a way to stop this process. There's got to be a way to change how this is. It can't just be, you live like this. So I went on a mission to discover, and I discovered hypnotherapy. And what happens is when we're born with what's called our primitive brain. And we are only born with the fear of falling and the fear of loud sounds, and then our fight or flight mechanism. And I'm sure everybody knows what that is, so I won't get into great detail with that. But now they are proving scientifically that if a mother experiences a severe trauma during, whether it be mental, emotional, or physical, while pregnant, that the baby can take on those fears and traumas as well. So stepping back, we may be able to be born with more than that, but we're going to go with scientifically what they've proven so far. But and then from birth until about 8 or 9 years old, we're just a human sponge. We're absorbing everything around us. We're absorbing relationships, environments, foods, tastes, responses, coping skills, friendships, every single thing. We actually absorb millions of things per second through our eye. So, and those are called message units. And then we have to distort and discard a lot of them because our brain couldn't handle taking all that in. So we're absorbing these things and we're determining what's positive and what's negative. And that's our unconscious mind developing. And our unconscious mind's job basically is to keep us alive and happy to the best of its ability. So then around 8 or 9 years old, we develop what's called the critical mind. And it's kind of like a filter. So if you picture the brain like a circle, we've got the bottom half, which is the unconscious mind developing all these positive and negative things. And then there's the critical mind. So we'll just picture that like a little sifter filter. And then above that is the conscious mind. And the conscious mind is what you think with right now. The conscious mind says, I have to go start my car. I have to go do this. I have to go do that. And then that's what's making our adult decisions. And then the unconscious mind is, you get up and you go, oh my God, I'm going to go do this today. And it's going to be amazing. And I'm going to make it rock. And we're going to have this great day. And then all of a sudden that little voice starts saying, what's the point? Somebody's going to screw it up. So-and-so is going to be at work. That's going to be a problem. That little voice comes up to start to sabotage it. And that's our unconscious mind coming up to talk to us. And it does sabotage us at times. But if you can step back and look at that unconscious mind would be similar to arguing with the 8 or 9-year-old version of yourself. So if you step back and you went, okay, at 8 or 9, how did I feel about somebody who annoyed me? How did I feel about this? How did I feel about that? And you start to place yourself back in that situation and then hear what that mind talk is saying, that's the 8 or 9-year-old version of yourself. And I have yet to have anybody go, oh my God, that's so true. Like that would so be it. Here's the big key. Our unconscious mind is 88% of our thinking. So the majority of our thoughts and decisions and reactions and responses are based on our 9-year-old self, 9-year-old self, and how they viewed the world. But through hypnotherapy, we can change some of those negatives to positives through imagery, through wording. It's all different depending on the specific situation. And then also change some of the positive to negatives. And some people are like, why would you ever change a positive to negative? Well, addiction. Because at some point you decided that was a good coping skill and that was a positive way to cope. So we have to turn it into a negative way to cope and then replace it with a positive way to cope. That's the other key. You cannot quit an addiction. Impossible. You must replace an addiction. There's a spot made for that. You've created a spot. You can unplug it, but you must put something else in it. You can't just leave the hole, or else it leaves a void. And what does the void cause? Discomfort. What happens when we get uncomfortable after we've had addiction? We go back. We must replace the addiction. So we try to find something positive to put into that spot. It's kind of like pulling the peg out of the hole.
Yeah.
You either have an empty hole where there's a void, or you put a different color peg in there, something more appealing, right? So that now people all the time ask this question. So I'm going to cover it. That's why I wanted to do a back kind of step backwards day. No, I will not make you bark like a dog or dance like a chicken. That is stage hypnosis. I did go to college. I do have a diploma in hypnotherapy, and I do have a double certification in neuro-linguistic as a neuro-linguistic programming practitioner. So I did get education in this. There was a class in stage hypnosis in college. I did not take it. I have absolutely zero desire for stage hypnosis. First off, just so you know, that's a certain personality type that they know how to look for based on mannerisms, facial expressions, movements. It's a very small percentage of the population. And there are always plants in an audience in case they can't find a lot of them.
Wow.
And I just have zero desire for stage hypnosis. My true heart's calling is when I see somebody stuck on a path, to help push them past the hurdle. Like, let's get you past the hurdle and seeing something different again. And why do I do that? Is it some ego, some glory, some I'm perfect thing? Absolutely not. It's actually the polar opposite. It is because I have been there. I have been stuck. I have made mistakes. I have lived sadness. I have been suicidal. I didn't become addicted, but I even wrote a book. There's a book on Amazon called The Girl I Met, about the week that I ended up catching myself taking oxycodone to just be numb. And luckily I caught myself in that. But that was one of the moments in time when I truly understand how the addict becomes an addict. So I wrote a book about it. It's a short book. It's not, and it's very amateur, and it's funny because I always feel like I have to validate that. But the people who have read it say that that's actually what they like about it, is that it is very amateur, because it's like my clients have read it and they said, it's almost like I can hear your voice as I read it. Like I can hear your voice telling me that the story as I read it.
Cool.
So anyway, I don't do it from some big superior place. We are taught in school that we should, but I just don't. I do it from a place of, I know how you feel, and I went and discovered this thing that can help. But hypnosis, the type of hypnosis I do, you are in control, and you are alert at all times. You are awake. You are relaxed. You have all been in hypnosis if you have been to an indoor movie theater. Because what happens is when the conscious mind, which is the final layer, like I said, that's what we make our decisions with. It can only handle so many message units, is what they're called at a time. And it's the things that we perceive and distort and discard. And everybody's is different based on their filter. We can only handle so many of those at a time. So when we we're going to use the movie theater as the example, because to me, that's the easiest example. Is then you decide you want to see a movie, and then you got to pick the time, and then you're getting ready, and then, okay, well, then we got to get out to the car, and then we got to get there, and I wonder if I'm going to find a good parking space. I wonder how long the line's going to be. I wonder if there's a bunch of people there. Am I going to get the seat that I want? All these thoughts are going through your head. Those are all message units. So then you get into the movie theater, and there's a line, and you got to get the ticket, and you're looking at the concessions, and you're trying to see what to do, and it's kind of dark in there, and there's lights flashing at the concession stand, and then you see the prices at the concession stand, and you choke. And then you start to walk into the theater, and then you're, oh my God, I wonder if I'm going to get a seat. Am I going to have to scoot in front of people? Is there going to be somebody noisy by me? All these things are in our head. And then we get in this dark room, and we find our seat, and we sit down, and then all of a sudden, boom, the sound comes on, and boom, the trailers come on in the theater. And those are all more message units. And as soon as the movie starts, you go, oh, thank God. And you sink in, and you become a part of the movie. When we're in a movie theater, you're kind of in the movie like you're there. Yeah. That is hypnosis. It is accepting an alternate reality for a temporary period of time. That is the reason movie theaters are dark with all those flashing lights and all those things happening. They know exactly how to get you into a hypnotic state, because they want you to become, who would go to a movie if you were sitting there just staring at the screen? You can do that at home.
Well,
you know what I mean?
yeah.
Think about, you can watch TV, you can watch a movie at home, but the big screen and the feeling that you're there and that whole experience is what we pay for, right? That's a hypnotic state. So the same as Pete and I go to a movie and it's a really cool movie and we're into it. Okay. But at any point I can say, hey, Pete, did you see that? And he could say, yeah, I saw that. That was cool. But we're still in that state of the movie. That is what I do. I can get you into that state of relaxation to the point that you can accept an alternate reality for a temporary period of time, but you are completely in control of response. And at any point in the middle of that, Pete can go to the bathroom and come back. He can make that decision. You can make the decision to say, we're not going to go there. I don't want to deal with that, or whatever it is. So it's that relaxed state, and it allows you to be in that state to offer a temporary reality. Okay. Why do we want a temporary reality? Is it a trick? No, it is not. But your unconscious mind does not know the difference between me looking at Pete right now as I'm sitting here and me closing my eyes and envisioning me sitting here interviewing Keanu.
Yeah.
If I could get in that state where I allowed in a hypnotic state, and I sat here in Keanu, for those of you who don't know, I love Keanu Reeves, and I'm interviewing Keanu, that would draw, when people talk about manifesting, that would draw truth to, oh, we're searching for that. We liked how that felt. Our unconscious mind is searching for what feels good, right?
Yeah.
So that would draw it towards those things. So when we talk about manifesting, so in a hypnotic state, because we're so relaxed, the same way you can watch Deadpool and you're up there.
Oh yeah, I love Deadpool.
Kicking ass with him, right?
Yeah,
and you can accept that as your reality for a moment. In a hypnotic state, we can detach the emotional truth, okay, the emotional of how we feel about something, and perceive it from that detached perception. And when we can perceive it from a detached perception, we can see it differently. And when we see something differently, we accept it differently. When we accept it differently, we react to it differently. Because nothing, here's the, this is one that always brings up an argument. Everything you remember is a lie.
Okay.
It's not 100% truth. It's 100% truth from how you saw it based on what you valued and you chose.
Yeah.
Correct.
From your perspective.
Because our filters of our sight, our filters of our mind, we choose, we've decided, right? We have these filters. We've decided what's important, but that's what's important to us.
Right.
Okay. So Pete and I can go to, Pete and I walk into a florist, okay, to get something for an event. And I'm going to look at the sappy, sweet, gooey, because I am that person thing, right? I'm the old school romantic flowers and candy, and I'm that girl, right? And I'm going to be looking at that, and they, oh, look at this sweet card. Oh, look, that card makes me teary. And he's going to be like, shut up. We have to get this stuff. We got to go. Now, we're both in the same location, but our filters of what we see different. And what we want and what we value is completely different. Now, does that mean that what I feel is not important? No, Pete understands it. He just knows we're in a hurry, right? But what we're going to notice as we walk into the florist are not going to be the same thing. Pete's going to notice the person who needs to help him in the cash register. Like, let's go in, let's get what we need, and let's get out.
Where's my stuff?
Yeah, and I'm going to be overlooking, look at the sparkly things. Look, these are pretty. But we're in the same location, seeing the same event. But what we're taking from it is completely different based on the values, the decisions, the things that are of importance and all that. So everything in truth, everything that we remember is not 100% truth.
Right.
It's 100% truth based from what our filters allowed us to see. And if we as a society, let's even back, because that's a huge order. If we in our romantic relationships and our family relationships and if our friendships could get a true grasp on that concept, peace would flow. And here's the thing. First, we have to get a grasp on that concept, and then we have to respect the truth of it. So by me saying, I understand, Pete, I know we're in a hurry. I just love the sparkly things. Pete could just respond with, I know you do. You got like 2 minutes while I'm checking out. Go check out your pretties and then let's go. That's just a mutual respect for I get what you're at. I get what we have to do. And hey, but I get your head goes to the sparkly things and we're going to have to do that too. And you know what? Guess what happens? We leave the florist with the job done and laughing and still friends, and there was no conflict. Why? Because I had respect for the fact that Pete's up to business and he knows what we need to do. And Pete accepted the fact that Lisa's into the sparkly things that she went over there to check them out. And we had a mutual respect for each other's view and walked out.
Right.
And then we walked out friends and there was no conflict and there's peace and we had a good day.
And see, it would be so cool if people would simply apply that principle
To everything.
Yes. Yeah. Because guess what? Then we could all have different points of view.
Yes.
And differing opinions and still get the frick along.
And some people say, but so-and-so does this and it hurts me. Okay. That's a legit thing. People do things that cause us emotional, mental harm, physical harm, not allowed. But emotional, mental harm. Even people who love us very much hurt us mentally, emotionally sometimes. So what we tend to do is because we get hurt by it and we want to protect ourselves from being hurt because we all have our own bullshit, right? Mm-hmm. Is to simply say to somebody, I understand your perspective, but when you say that, it hurts me. And this is how it hurts me. Now, does it mean the person's not allowed to say that anymore? No. It doesn't mean that at all. But if Pete says, Lisa, when you say this, it hurts me because when I was a kid, blah, 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 whatever it is. And I say, oh, okay, I didn't know that. I'm sorry to hear that. I understand. I don't know how else to say it because this is what we need to deal with. And I'm sorry that this is triggering you. Let's see if we can find a way around it. Guess what? We still ended up doing. And guess what? Pete's probably not going to be as triggered, even if I said exactly the same thing again. You know why? Because I respected it and said, okay. And I'm probably going to be a little more heartfelt and cautious when I do say it. And Pete's going to be able to hear what I have to say, even if he doesn't like it, because, but she understands that this is hard for me and she respected that. Remember let's go back to people want validated.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Validation doesn't mean this bullshit fluff we got going on in society.
Oh, no. And validation
is not the busiest YouTube channel. The teenager with the most TikToks, that's not validation.
No.
That's semi-narcissism and it's celebrityism. But that's not validation. To have someone listen to you, meaning like your TikTok videos, your speeches, your this radio show right now.
Yeah.
This radio show does not validate me. This radio show is a tool and it's something I enjoy, but it doesn't validate me. So when I say something, I can just say it. But when Pete said, so you're my guinea pig.
And that's fine. I'm sitting here.
If I'm saying it to you
today.
and I'm telling you this is bothering me and I don't know how to get around it, but I know we have to do this or whatever. When you respond with, oh, I didn't know that. Okay, I'm sorry that that's happening, but we need to get this done. So what can we do about that? I've been heard. And there's a big difference between listening and being heard. And it's just that calmness and understanding that if we can understand, people have other filters. Because here's the truth. I have proven it over and over and over and over and over again. 99.9% of all the stuff that you struggle to deal with happened before you were 9 years old. So in that matter, if we can kind of have some empathy that we don't know what somebody's life was back then. We don't know what they saw. And you know what? If somebody is genuinely toxic, walk away. If they're genuinely trying purposefully to trigger you and upset you and hurt you and get a response out of you, that's their little inner attention person needing attention.
Yeah.
So just understand by even knowing that that's their inner person needing attention or to feel powerful. It's really no different than the bully on the playground sometimes. The bully on the playground is usually the least confident person in the school.
Right.
So by just understanding that concept and going, you know what? Wonder what happened to them when they were little that they struggle with this so much. And I am a spiritual base. So I'll even sometimes think, if there's a blessing to be done for them to see it, that'd be great. But that doesn't mean I have to take it. I can still walk away. The key is if we could learn to walk away gracefully. Why do we always have to win?
Right. And that's, I think for some people, that whole idea of I won. Well, I won. What did you win? What was your prize?
You won a broken relationship. Yeah. You won the louder voice.
Yeah.
You caused more harm than the other person. Yay. Yeah. Again, it still goes back to, well, that's really what it is, right?
That's what it is.
I caused the most harm. Yeah. I won. And it really comes to the end of the day of, is this something I'm going to look back on and be proud of? And I, like I said, I'm spiritual and people know it, but when I meet my maker, I'm going to go, but I was a bigger ass than them and I won. Somehow I'm not thinking I'm getting the big gold star.
Probably not. Yeah, probably not.
And just for the record, I'm not always that way. I am short fused. I'm a short fused German girl with a very small filter. So I make my mistakes and I have to own it. But for the most part, those are really genuinely true things that I stop and think about. And when I do meet somebody who is intentionally toxic because of what I do and what I've done over these years now in the schooling and stuff, I do look at them and think, God, I wonder what happened. I wonder what hurt them so bad in their childhood that this is their response to it. I be blessed, but I walk away. It's not my responsibility.
No.
But again, I slip. It depends.
Everybody does.
Catch me at the wrong moment, and you get a different mouth.
I've discovered, and I'm learning about myself now that I'm shifting. I think this is because I made an intentional shift in my career path. I just got sick of what I was doing for an income, and having made that intentional shift, I've discovered that I have put in place and built a massive filter for thoughts and communication because it was required in my former career path, and that I am now learning to shrink it. And I have a tremendously long fuse. Because I learned, okay, yeah, don't take stuff personally. You just don't. And I really do have a hard time. I am the fellow with an empty fuck bucket. It just, there's nothing in there that's gone. But every great once in a while, I'll find a capital F. Oh my gosh, I didn't realize it was the bottom of the bottom. And
look at it way down there.
If I'm at the end of a fuse, then it's a big boom.
That's how I've always worded myself. I have a very long fuse, but once it's lit, the whole world knows it.
Yeah, but by and large, I've intentionally made that fuse longer and longer and longer because I don't like the boom.
Well, that's what I said. How many people can say that they can, if they were honest with themselves, that when they've blown like that, and then later on when the adrenaline's down and, when our body's response to it, looks back and it still feels good. If you were truly honest with yourself, the majority of the time it would not. It would not feel good, and it would not be something that you were proud of. And, it's true. There's an old statement I see all the time with men get the shaft when it comes to dating and relationships. I will say that. But there's a statement that I saw that said, before you say it to her, ask yourself, would you say it to your mother or your daughter? And I think that is a good statement because I think that if the perspective was taken of, ooh, I wouldn't say that. But women, same thing. Before you say it, would you? So men get the shaft that way. But stopping to put yourself in somebody else's perspective does not mean you have to agree with them. You can put yourself in somebody else's shoes. As a matter of fact, I was just in a situation recently, and I'll try to be quick because I know we're running out of time, where I did not agree with the decision somebody very close to me made. I did not agree that it was the right thing to do. And I had two choices: to pop off about it or to stop and ask myself exactly that. Are you going to respond to this in a way you can be proud of? And I knew I couldn't in the moment respond to it. So I stepped back, and when I was let the emotions attach from it, I literally envisioned and sat myself in their shoes in the situation that was happening and said, what would you do, Lisa? And I realized I'm not sure what I would have done. So I can't really judge the fact that they didn't do what I thought would do once I placed myself in that position and was honest. Those are just things we take on, and we'll talk about it more next week and get into more details with it. If you have any questions, again, you can email them. You can reach me at 262-573-7055 by text or by phone, or at lisa'schangingperceptions.com, lisa'schangingperceptions@gmail, or of course through 216thenet.com, and Pete will always get messages and questions for me. I am still seeing clients. I'm seeing them weeknights at 6 and 7 p.m. and on Sundays. So feel free. Saturdays are my free zone. So unless you have a crisis, Saturdays are my day that I don't do. I work 2 jobs and I do the radio show. So Saturdays are my day. feel free to get a hold of us, and we will go from there, and I'll talk to you again next week. Thank you all for coming back and visiting. It's so nice to be back, and I actually did miss it the last 2 weeks.
And we missed you too. Welcome back.
Have a great day, everybody.